Now let's turn to a real fighter, Governor Ed Rendell of Pennsylvania, who's been counseling the president to hit harder. Counsel I agree with. All right. Now, Governor, from what I can see, it appears that the president doesn't love to challenge the Republicans unless he's got about 67% approval on any given issue. Do you think it makes more sense to, in the next 2 years, to fight the Republicans a little harder or keep trying to reach bipartisan compromise?
Well, I think you can do both, Cenk, and I think it's important that he does that. Look, the beauty of what happened in the lame duck session is President Obama reaffirmed in the minds of the American people, particularly independents, that he can govern and he can lead. And that was very, very important. And he did it by getting some of our traditional issues like Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the START Treaty, approved by the Congress. So I think he's got to find common ground on a couple of issues. And I think education is one, the reauthorization of No Child Left Behind, but with some serious changes and some increased funding and some accountability. An energy bill that sponsors and promotes renewable and alternative forms of energy, but also reaches out to other forms of energy that are American produced, and deficit reduction. I think we have to do serious deficit reduction, and he has to look like a leader. But at the same time, he should continue to draw distinctions with Republicans on issues that are important to us as Democrats, important to working Americans. And I think the perfect opportunity is going to be in the fall of next year, not the fall of 2011, but in the late spring and fall of next year, the tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. I think those are limited to 2 years, and I think the president should make it clear that he's going to seek the removal of those in the name of deficit reduction and in the name of basic fairness. So I think there are opportunities for him to do both, to govern effectively, to find that middle ground and keep pushing the agenda forward. Look, if we have American energy independence, all of those forms of energy are going to improve the environment. It may not be cap and trade, but it's a step in the right direction. But Governor, so we can do that.
But Governor, whenever we start talking about middle ground in Washington, that usually turns out to be incredibly Republican ground. I mean, I'm scared when you talk about, reducing the deficit. I mean, the things that have been proposed, cutting Social Security, et cetera, sound disastrous to me. That's not the common ground I want.
Well, I think you've got to look at carefully what the president's going to propose. I think in his State of the Union, he's going to propose some things that our base hardly agrees with, like reduction in military spending, like closing tax loopholes that rich people and rich corporations take advantage of at the detriment of the American worker.
Right, but how's he going to get that?
It's going to be a mixed package.
No, but we got to keep it real. How's he going to get that? Because the Republicans will never agree to that.
Well, he's going to have to try to forge a compromise where we give up certain things. And look, I consider myself a strong progressive. But if you tell me by 2050 we're going to raise the age of Social Security to 69, I don't have a problem with that because we'll all be living to 94, 95 years in life expectancy. And that's an elemental change. So Governor, we've got to forge compromises. We've got to forge compromises and cut government spending.
No, look, of course we have to do compromise. I get that. But I don't want to compromise on Social Security after we just compromised and gave the rich a giant tax cut. I don't want to say, all right, look, the rich get this huge tax cut, and then we're going to turn around and make people work till they're 69? No deal. But I'm afraid that Obama's definitely going to do that.
Work to 69 in the year 2050, when the average life expectancy will have grown by 10 years. You've got to keep things in perspective and think things through. That's going to be basic, and it's going to be elemental.
Yeah, you know what? I'll do that deal. I'll do that deal if they give us every penny of the tax cut back for the rich. But they're not going to do it. Well, they're never going to compromise. Only we compromise. You know what we should do? And you know what we should do? We should do in 2012 what we should have done in 2010. The Congress, all of the Democrats in the Congress who bitched about the tax cut deal, we should have made that an issue to run on in 2010. But we shied away from it. We didn't want to make it an issue to run on. We should have made it a seminal issue to show to voters the difference between us and the Republicans. We didn't do that. We should do that in 2012. And if we do that, we'll win. The polls show that even Republican voters think that a tax cut at that level for the rich makes no sense at all. All right, Governor, one last thing. Of course, I got to bring it up. You called the country a nation of wusses and wussies. That's funny.
The wussification of America. I think we've lost a little bit, Cenk, of our boldness, of our pioneer spirit, of our innovation. And the Eagles game, canceling that game was a metaphor for that. And it's permeating a lot of what we do. Good Lord. Can you imagine Vince Lombardi? He'd be rolling over in his grave if we knew we canceled a football game when at the time of the kickoff there were 6 inches of snow on the ground. Good Lord. Come on, America.
Hey,
man up.
I love ending on notes of agreement. I totally agree they should have played in the snow. All right, Governor Rendell, thank you so much.